Kittle. Fake. There's Cousin. Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback. Into the end zone. Touchdown, NFC.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Obviously we don't actually have a storm. That is just one of the examples we can do with the light that I'm going to go over in this video. But before we get into the whole light review and breaking down that actual light, I want to talk to you guys about what practicals actually are. So practical essentially is just like a supplementary light that you put in a scene to give it more life. You know, something you put in the background most likely is out of focus, but it just creates more interest in the scene. You know, it adds depth, it adds some pockets of light and breaks up the scene so it's not just darkness or negative space. So you look at this example here, in the scene you can see all the lights in the background. Now they put every single one of these lights there on purpose because they want the background to be more interesting. They don't want it just to fall off in darkness. So they do this to, as I said, create depth and make the image more interesting. Alternatively, if you look at this, you know, you're used to seeing this kind of thing in every single movie when they are outside. All of these bokeh balls in the background, which are like street lights or car lights, they're all fake. They put them there on purpose to create more interest, just so the image isn't boring and it's not black. Because if you think, if these lights weren't there, the only thing in the subject that has light is the subject. Sorry, the only thing in frame that has light is the subject. And it's a bit like, how can we make this more interesting? We add practicals. So that being said, now that you understand what practicals are, I'm actually going to be talking to you about the practical that I recommend for you to pick up. But I've just realized I'm so used to setting up my normal YouTube setup, I'm actually using the light now that I want to talk about. So the LUTS P200 is a small tube light, RGB WW, I think they call it, where you can go from tungsten to daylight and obviously have a full RGB spectrum. So what comes inside the box, you do get a nice little box. You have the manual, the paperwork, all that stuff. You have charging cables, a remote to obviously control the light, 2 straps that you'd put on the end of the light, a metal rod for if you want to stick this to something. We'll break this down a bit later, and a protective velvet case. I think it's velvet. Yeah. And then what also comes with it, which is quite good as well, which I will get into, is this egg crate or honeycomb thing here. But yeah, we'll break that down in a bit. So the light itself, it's a simple tube light. It is, to be honest, it's a copy of Nanlight's tube light that they have. You know, the Nanlight Papatube 6C. This just is a copy of that, but like what, a quarter of the price, I think. On the light itself, it's very basic. It's a good build, solid. Like you do feel like this is, you know, a bit waterproof and it can take a bit of a beating. You have a control button at the top. So if I hide my face there, you can see you have the on button there, and then if you take this off, you have the controls, not the controls, sorry, but the ports for you to charge it. But yeah, the light itself, very basic, no controls, no screen, nothing really on it. At the bottom there's a 1/4-20 mount, so if you do want to put this on the tripod, that is an alternative there. And lastly, the 2 ends where these holes are, you can put these straps, or you can use the magnets that are inside. Accessory wise, so the remote control, that is a way to control the light. So if I turn this on, use the remote, turn it off, turn it back on, you can change the mode, flashing colors or a storm, just like you saw in the intro. You could go to police cars, and there's different types of things here. Yeah, the remote control, fairly basic, because if you look, there aren't too many different options on the remote. It is fairly limited, but if you're in a pinch, you could get away with this. I personally wouldn't use this. How I would actually control this is through the phone app, which I will get into in a bit. Have a USB-C cable here, USB-C to USB-A. As I said, the bag, the metal rods, and that's pretty much it for what comes in the box and accessories. But yeah, what I really do like about this, and something that is quite useful, is that you can use your phone to control it, which is, I guess, where most camera operated things are going these days. Just how many things you can control with phone apps now. I like it that you can do that, it's great, but I wish they did have like actual controls on it, just so you don't always have to be using your phone. But if I show you this here, you can see the LUTS here, the Bluetooth with a slash through it, that means we're not connected. But if we hold this down, press refresh, the light is there. Now we can go into it. So we have the full control of the light. You can see changing the Kelvin, put that away, changing the Kelvin color here, or we can go to color. We have a full RGB. We can change the brightness, and the saturation all inside there. We have the scenes, so we can choose different scenes of lighting, what they called, I guess, lighting templates. But you can modify these of the different types of things they do in these scenes. I personally, again, wouldn't really use any of these. And lastly is music, something I definitely wouldn't use, but it uses like the sound that the phone hears to change color. So you can see it changing color while I'm talking, but when I stop, it stops changing color. So yeah, how well it works, I wouldn't use this essentially, but yeah, it's meant to change color to the beat of the music or something. I don't know, quite a silly effect if you ask me, but that is that app. The last way to control it, which is way for me is very unreliable, is actually just using the one button on the top. So you click to turn it on. If I now want to brighten this or lower it, I have to hold it down and it gets lower. If I want to brighten it now, hold it down and it gets brighter. So it does kind of work, but it's just a bit weird. And then to change that effect, you have to double click. It'll go to RGB, and then if you want to get back to daylight, you have to go all the way around, cycle through all the colors, all the effects, finally get to daylight. And then you want to change it, lower it, hold it down, brighten it, hold it down again, and it will get brighter. So this is okay if you are really in a pinch, but it's just not something I would use. But yeah, that's just, I guess, one of the things you have to give away when you are getting a budget option. And the last thing that I do want to go over in the, I guess, positive section are the magnets that are on the top and the bottom. So it is really useful if, if you're out in a pinch, you're outside, you do want to stick this to, I don't know, a metal wall. If you have a metal wall, you can put this on the side of that. You can just have different effects for this, and it's great that it has the magnets and they don't really take away from like the look of the light. But if you don't have a metal wall, it comes with this like iron rod that you can have I don't know, gaff tape to the wall, duct tape, even I guess blue tack it as well. However you want to attach this to the wall, you can attach that, then this sticks to that. And it's a strong magnet. Like if I show you, hold it on the edge here, it's a strong magnet. So I would trust that this would, I don't think this will fall. Yeah, got confidence in this magnet. Whew, all this unboxing got me a little hot. This sort of honeycomb grid that it comes with, this is really, really useful for if you just want to control the light. You just slide this up at the bottom, on the side, sorry, and then the light is just more shaped, so it's not going to be spreading everywhere. Because the angle of the light is quite wide, it's just going to go out. But with this honeycomb grid, it just means you can focus that light and yeah, just have less spill. But that is it for the main positive. That is it for the main breakdown of the light. Now we'll get into the things that I don't necessarily think that would turn you off buying it. I don't regret buying it because of these things, but there are things that you should be made aware of. So the first one, which is like physically on the light, I do wish there was like a small screen, even if it's just to see the battery indicator or at least to see what kind of mode you're on. Because yeah, it's great being able to control it by tapping on this or holding it down, but you don't really know what you're going to get. So if you had like a tiny little LED screen with a battery indicator and the mode you're using, that would make this a lot more useful, just because you don't always want to be using your phone. And especially if you have a load of these, for example, you'd have to check every single one. It's just a bit tedious. Next is the control. So you can control it through, obviously, as I said, the app, the remote, and on top of this, but you can't do them all at the same time. For example, if I turn this on to control it through the app, I now can't control it with the remote, whatever I'm pressing. But if I turn it off again, just single press, I now have control through the remote, but now I don't have control through the app. Like this is quite strange. So not sure why. It's like if you turn it on, it goes to like a Bluetooth mode, and if you don't, it turns on to like I presume like an infrared mode with the remote. So yeah, it's just again something that's just a bit like, was there really a need? And the last thing that really isn't that much of a negative, but it's just something I do wish they did include on this egg crate honeycomb thing that does control the light. I wish there was like a little bit of Velcro here where you could put an extra bit of diffusion, just so you could really soften the light. Because these are quite small, the light does tend to be quite harsh. So if you could have a little bit of diffusion on the top, just to give that extra bit of softness, that would be great. But again, quite nitpicky. So would I recommend this light? Personally, I'd say if you are on a budget, this is a great option. If you do, you have the money for it, I would really recommend the nan light because that has all of the features. But when you get something that is significantly lower priced, there are some trade-offs that there will be. You won't have the screen on it, you won't have the certain controls, it won't be as accurate in certain things. But if you are using this for like a background practical, just like I had in the beginning, and you want something cheap that you can get maybe a couple of just to do the job of being a practical, these are a great budget option. So I'll drop a link down below if you are looking to pick one of these up, and I'll also drop the Nanlite Habitube one as well if you are looking to compare the two. But with that being said, that is all from me. So if you have got a lesson, laugh, or a light bulb moment from this video, I'd really appreciate if you drop a little like down below, and if you're feeling extra nice, you could hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, I will catch you in the next one.